This is JC Setting the Record Straight podcast. I'm your host, JC. On this channel, we set the record straight. That means we fact check and correct commonly believed misinformation and propaganda. In this podcast, I'm going to discuss anti-intellectualism in the black community. According to Ayn Rand, man's ability to reason is his primary tool for survival. Ayn Rand valued a man's intellect over his physical abilities. According to her, the mind is used to gain, use, store, and recall knowledge. It is his mind that enables a farmer to know what to plant, when to plant it, how to nurture it, when to harvest it, how to prepare food from the result. It is his mind that enables a hunter to know what he needs to make a spear, how to make it, and how to use it. And it is his mind that enables a blacksmith to know what rocks contain ore, how to extract the ore, and how to make and forge tools. In short, it is the mind that enables a person to know what to do in order to survive. So this podcast is based on a journal review of Richard Hofstadter's book called Anti-Intellectualism in American Life. And so the journal article is called 3 Kinds of Anti-Intellectualism, Rethinking Hofstadter. Even though this literature is based on anti-intellectualism in American life, I'm going to tailor it to anti-intellectualism in the black community. As I just stated, a man's ability to reason is his primary tool for survival. However, the black community is overly hedonistic. In the black community, there tends to be a decreased focus on critical thought and a greater focus being put on mindless entertainment. Even when black people go to church, it's not about knowledge, nor is it about seeking a connection with God. It's all about the music, it's all about the clothes, it's all about the food and the gossip. So Hofstadter defines intellect as the critical, creative, and contemplative side of the mind. Conversely, he defines anti-intellectualism as the resentment and suspicion of the life of the mind and those who are considered to represent it, and a disposition constantly to minimize the value of that life. There are 6 steps to the problem-solving process. First, you have to identify the problem. Then you analyze the problem. Then you describe the problem. You look for root causes. You develop alternative solutions. And then you implement the solution. But that's not what's going on in the black community. It's all about emotions. We have many in the black community who emphatically reject using their minds to problem solve. Hofstadter says that anti-intellectualism is not unitary. There are 3 distinct types of anti-intellectualism. The first is anti-rationalism. The second is anti-elitism. And third is unreflective instrumentalism. Rationalism refers to the commitment to the value of critical thought and reasoned discourse in general. Anti-rationalism arises from the fear that intellectual discourse endangers the foundation of absolute belief. Anti-rationalist belief systems are primarily associated with religious structures. So I've previously discussed Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The deficiency needs are the physiological needs, safety needs, the need for love and belonging, and esteem needs. Then the need for knowledge and understanding is considered a growth need. So what happens is people fear knowledge and understanding because cognitive dissonance. So to get into the love and belonging needs, if you consider yourself to be a Christian, Christianity becomes a huge part of your identity. Many Christians shun intellect because they equate intellect with moral relativism, which is a direct contradiction to their moral absolutism. For example, there are many people who consider abortion to be wrong or immoral. So those people are not going to be interested and any intellectual arguments which might chip away at their core belief system. The same thing with homosexuality. No matter what you say, they are going to stick to their core belief system because they see attacking their belief system as an attack against them personally. So anti-rationalists prefer echo chambers. They're only interested in discourse which confirm their pre-existing belief systems. They're not interested in learning or growing. They don't even believe that it is their place to engage in critical thinking or to have knowledge for themselves. In fact, they would rather defer to their pastors or pray to God for the answers. To them, knowledge is esoteric and sacred. It's all about faith, not knowledge. In effect, they display a childlike reverence for ignorance. What's more, they think that being ignorant is noble. When one of their loved ones is dying from cancer, they're not going to use their intellect to try to save said loved one. All they're going to do is sit around praying like a bunch of slaves, which is exactly what my family did when my cousin was dying from stage 4 cancer. I tried to save him by providing them with information and buying health supplements which would have eliminated that chemotherapy poison from his system, but they didn't trust my understanding, nor did they trust their own. This brings me to the next type of anti-intellectualism, which is anti-elitism. Anti-elitism is a distrust of those who claim to have superior knowledge or wisdom. Again, they see those who possess superior knowledge as elitist and esoteric. The article says that anti-elitism is a worldview which is anchored in a belief that intellectuals are pretentious, conceited, snobbish, and very likely immoral, dangerous, and subversive. In the black community, this manifests itself as someone trying to be uppity or a black person thinking that they're white. The black community tends to reject intellectualism when it's coming from members of their own community. However, they have no problem accepting esoteric knowledge from the white man. They have no problem deferring to white doctors, white attorneys. They have no problem obeying the laws which were not written for their benefit. But whenever a black person tries to spit some knowledge, he's considered a sellout. They would rather listen to someone who doesn't know shit but is more relatable. This is why the black community keeps falling for the okie doke, putting political leaders in power who have no interest in bettering the black community. This is the same reason that many in the black community seek leadership from entertainers rather than those who are learned. In order to earn the black community's trust, you pretty much have to dumb yourself down in order to make yourself more relatable. You can't outwardly display your superior knowledge or people are going to have a problem with you. The result is the black community is easily manipulated. Everyone is shucking and jiving to get resources from the black community. You have Hillary Clinton talking about how she carries hot sauce in her bag. You have people supporting Kamala Harris despite the fact that she has a track record of putting black people in prison to be used as free labor. People supported Joe Biden despite his history and long track record of racism just because he knows the right things to say. The black community is being sold a bill of goods and they fall for it ad infinitum. You can't even look at something simple as which YouTube channels are successful. The black community is supporting YouTubers who are barely literate. Some of these people are functionally retarded, but because they're entertaining, that's all people seem to care about. In addition to not supporting channels which are pedagogical in nature, many in the black community consider knowledge itself to be elitist. They don't believe in researching. They see education as being beyond their reach. And they think that their uninformed opinions carry the same weight as the opinions of those who read and study. The final type of anti-intellectualism is unreflective instrumentalism. Unreflective instrumentalism is the devaluation of forms of thought that do not promise relatively immediate practical payoffs. This school of thought suppresses questioning because everything is limited to pragmatics. Questions are important because they allow us to reflect on the ethical implications. So reason only has value when it is being used to attain specific ends, but it is not useful when questioning the value of the ends themselves. Even if a question is theoretical, it still has value in its own right. Even if a particular idea is impractical, it still pushes the pendulum in a direction which may be ideal. Asking questions also has value in that it helps us to define the problem in the first place. For example, I argued that the system of white supremacy is only possible with the existence of black people. In theory, if black people stop having babies, that would end the system of white supremacy. This is not even debatable. This is an immutable fact. But the response that I got is that black people, or any group of people, are never going to stop having babies. That doesn't negate the ethical import of the argument. The point is that by having children, you are part of the machine which fuels suffering and oppression. That needs to be considered if one is going to identify the problem. To give another example, Cynthia G is saying that aborting black males would solve the problems in the black community. Instead of addressing the argument, people are saying, oh, black women are never going to stop giving birth to black males. Even if that's true, it still doesn't address the argument. The broader question is, would aborting black males solve the problems in the black community? The underlying question is whether black males are the problem. Rather than address the question, people would rather deflect and say, oh, that's never going to happen. All in all, I think anti-intellectualism is one of the greatest problems plaguing the black community. It's the reason why we're stuck. No one can see the forest for the trees. The black community is easily distracted and easily misled. There is very little critical thinking going on. The right questions are not being asked. And there is too much deference being given to wolves in sheep's clothing. But this really stems from a lack of self-esteem. Black people don't think that they're smart enough to make decisions for themselves. Therefore, they're always turning to someone else. They're turning to their pastors, they're turning to the government, and they're turning to some licensed professional. The black community keeps getting the same result, yet they keep doing the same thing anyway. Life would be much easier if you would just sit down and think. Turn away from the constant bombardment of entertainment and actually learn something that is going to benefit your life. Read a book. Listen to the boring content creators such as myself. Turn the TV off. This is a mind-controlling device. The more you watch it, the less you'll be able to think for yourselves. For the Christians, this should really be easy. Stop worshiping false idols. Your pastor is a false idol. The president is a false idol. These celebrities you worship are false idols. You're giving their opinions too much weight. Even in the Bible, it says the truth shall set you free. Liberation comes through knowledge, not faith. So whenever you have a problem, don't defer to other people. Listen to what I said at the beginning of this video about the problem-solving process. If you're too emotional to engage in critical thinking for yourself, you need to surround yourself with those who are critical thinkers. Listen to the advice of the critical thinkers and stay away from the echo chambers. Thanks for your support. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you will know when I upload new content.